Hey guys, this is Simon here with Caddis Fly Shop, an Oregon fly fishing blog, showing you the long-awaited jigged pink squirrel. We were going to do this a while ago, but we have to redo it, unfortunately. But this has been mentioned in a couple of videos. This fly was popularized by John Bethke in the Driftless Area of Wisconsin. I happened to have been on a guide trip with his son. It's kind of a fun fact about this fly, but this fly, it's really cool. It's kind of like a hare's ear with a little pink collar. Traditionally, it was tied on a scud hook and uses chenille and is a lot bigger and fatter, so I slimmed it down for out here. I've used this and caught several big rainbows, big browns, all sorts of stuff. It's a really, really good fly for me. I just kind of tweaked it for around here. So it's the same premise of just a hare's ear with a pink collar. It's just using a little bit different material, so I'll show you how we do it. So looking a little bit closer at this fly, it's got a big tungsten bead, 5/32 gold tungsten bead from Hairline. The dubbing's just made of a hare's mask, and we use a cool Hairline zirconia rake to rake it out. Some pink dubbing. This is Senyos Fusion Dub Pink Lady, and then crystal flash out the back and wire. So it's super, super simple. Some of the original materials from the fly, some have been substituted, but again, it's kind of my take on it. Very, very similar, but it works great, so we'll just show you how to tie it. This is a really quick one. So starting here with some 70 denier fluorescent pink thread from Hairline. You can really use whatever, because at the end of this fly, the thread will kind of get hidden by the collar. But if a little bit of it peaks, it's nice to have the pink. But like I said, you can probably get away with just about any color. A lot of fly tying, you cover up the thread anyways. So in my opinion, it's not as crucial as some people make it sound, unless you're using it for like a thread body or something. So once we lay down a little base layer of thread, we're going to add in some of this crystal flash. Pearl works. This happens to be gray ghost just because I like this color a little bit more. But traditionally the fly uses a rainbow color crystal flash. I'm more of a fan of pearl. But this is pearl, and this is a size 16 hook. I should have told you guys the hook. It's a size 16 hook from Fully Mill, a 5125 Jigged Force short. If you've been following the videos, you've seen this hook before. It is like one of my all-time favorite jig hooks. You can put a huge bead. This is a size 16 with a 5/32 bead on it, for example. So that's why I like it, especially around here. You can get your fly down really quick, really fast. And the other thing we're going to do before we switch angles is we are going to lay down a little piece of golden wire in size medium. And this is just for ribbing and to hold the materials all together. I like to put it on the top. I don't like to encroach on my hook gap, but I will bring these wraps right to the back where that crystal flash is. Now I'm going to show you how to use a really, really cool tool from Hairline that came out last year that as long as I need hare's ear dubbing, I'm using it. It's really good. So this is the zirconia dubbing rake from Hairline. It came out last year. It is an awesome tool. It's made of ceramic. And it has these little teeth on it, and these little teeth allow you to get in and rake out the underfur part of a fur for dubbing. And most mammals' furs have two parts. They have guard hairs and then an underfur, which is softer and provides insulation. The guard hair on the outside is stiffer and it protects that underfur. So generally when we talk about dubbing, we're talking about that underfur, and that's what this rake just with ease pulls out the dubbing. If you press harder, you get more of those guard hairs out and makes it spikier. The cool thing about this also is depending on where I rake on this mask, I might get a different color as well. If I rake on the side here, it's lighter. I get a lighter color dubbing versus over here where it's darker. I can kind of pick and choose how I want to do it. This is a tool that came out last year. I've been using it pretty much ever since it came out. It's totally staple on my desk and I use it very often. I cannot recommend it enough. So we're going to take a little bit of this dubbing and we're going to create a taper noodle, tapering it towards the back. So we're doing that because the rear end of a nymph is thinner than up towards the head most of the time. Pretty sure all the time. And what I'm using to run this dubbing on is this Overton's Wonder Wax. It's really good. It doesn't make a huge mess. It's just my favorite dubbing wax out there. I've tried a lot of them, and this one is stayed on top ever since I tried it. And so we're just going to do touching wraps here and slowly build a body up. As we go up, we might touch some of these wraps over each other to create more of a taper for the body. But yeah, this one's super easy. If you know how to tie a hare's ear, you can definitely tie this one. It's super, super simple. But there is one trick. You can see right now my bead is kind of sideways, right? Normally you want the bead to sit with the slot up like this. You can kind of see. Right now I want it sideways, and that's going to make it take up more space on the actual shank. And I'm doing that because that's how I've found I can always get a uniform collar. That's a little tip for you guys. If you have that bead kind of cockeyed like this, I can fill it up to here, and then when I bump that bead forward, I have just enough space to put a collar. And so now I'm going to rib this fly, try to do even wraps here. You know, it's not going to make too much of a difference if they're not even, but at least for you guys, I should make a aesthetically pleasing fly with even wraps. I like to do 2 wraps right behind the bead too. That helps lock it in. And so once we do that and lock it in, I will find my trash scissors. Pause. Okay, after cutting the clip, we found my scissors. Sorry about that. But yeah, don't use fancy scissors to cut wire. That was the dilemma we just had. Not smart. So now that we locked that wire in, we're going to take a little bit of this. This is Senyos Fusion Dub in Pink Lady. It's a really cool color. It's one that I like for this. And less is more. You can always add a bigger collar. You don't want too big of a collar. And often if you do too much material, you can't dub it very tight. That's a tight noodle which will stay together. If you can't make a tight noodle, sometimes it dubs really loose, and then when you fish it, the pink will kind of just go over the whole body, and it'll just turn into an entirely pink nymph, which I'm sure would work, but not really what you want. So right now we'll trim up those kind of loose ends here, and this is how you tie it. It's like I said, it's super simple. This fly is great in places where there's scuds. That's what made it really famous in the Driftless area. In those spring creeks, there's a lot of scuds. They fish a lot of different scud patterns. So the cool thing is this is a true attractor pattern. It can be a scud, it can be a mayfly nymph, it can be a scud, and you can fish in the spring because it looks like an egg. It could be a nymph with an egg, all sorts of stuff. Just to lock these thread wraps in, we're going to do just one little drop right behind in that slot of the bead right there of Solaris Bone Dry resin. That'll just lock everything together. And the last thing you can do is kind of optional, but I like to do it. And that's also, you guys can see this is why I like this dubbing, because it's just super UV reactive, very bright. Last thing we can do is there's this Hairline 3-in-1 dubbing brush tool. You take a piece of Velcro, whatever, but you can kind of spike up the nymph a little bit. Totally optional. If you don't do it, it will get beat up on its own. But this is how you tie it. You can get all this stuff online at Caddis Fly Shop. If you like this type of content, give us a comment below. Let us know what you want to see. And we also have all sorts of stuff on our Instagram at Caddis Fly Shop. Thanks.